Greetings, everybody. We're back around the table again today. Earlier in the week, you probably should have, and if you didn't, go back and check it out. We did the grading and stats on the Spyderco Chief here.
We gave away all the secrets.
Yeah, and we are back again around the table to do our discussion on this guy.
Now the justification for the secrets.
Yeah.
Let's hear it, boys.
Let's talk about why I almost want this knife.
Give us your reasons, Joe.
It's too pointy and too stabby.
It sure is.
I'm not the type of person to shy away from that kind of thing in a knife that I like, but in this type of handle configuration, I want my Spydercos, generally speaking, for utility. This is really pointy. I want this.
Where is your 452? Seriously, it's just as stabby as this summit.
It is. The 452 is at home.
I'd say the alignment of the belly is different enough for me to. I'd rather use the 452 to cut within this.
Yeah.
As glorious as that edge geometry is, I would realistically only use that and feel good about it, and then this would be a compromise for me. Every time I would use it to cut.
Wasted blade length if you're not using it.
And I'm a huge fan of the Native. I have an old Native 3, and I'm always debating picking up the fluted with the S90. So for me to dislike this, it kind of sucks. Like, I was looking forward to getting it in hand.
No, I will say on the pros, this much knife, even with S30 and G10, I think is still a banger price.
Yeah, they kept it very reasonable.
Your blade to weight ratio on this thing is phenomenal.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Sub 4 ounces for an over 9-inch blade is insane.
Noticed on the first video that the weight on it, sub 4 ounces. For a 9, that's insane. A 9-inch blade.
That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, that's your Crooked River. It's on carbon fiber.
Pretty much.
Right?
And it's a well put together knife. I mean, in terms of smoothness of transition between blade and handle, and very smooth on the back end with the retainer for the spring.
That's because you got judgy with the Manly 2 weeks ago, and now it's something
No. I just
at all the time.
I always look at that stuff.
I don't know, is this lined up or not?
But for the price, it's really good fit and finish for. Across the board, it's a nice feeling knife, but
minus a few small points. There's a few sharp areas on the knife that
Nigel pointed out.
Yeah, and we did discuss it a little bit in the grading system video, but the edges on the lockback have been left quite very crisp, and it is a little unpleasing for using.
The reason why that stands out in particular is because there have been a lot of other previous Spyderco models where they've broken the edge on the lock bar relief. So this isn't something where it's we don't expect that from a Spyderco. You normally think, it's
an American-made too. You would expect it.
Yeah. So both on the lock-up side of things as well as the fit and finish kind of things, that is something that we had to point out as far as, they could have done that a little bit nicer because it digs into your hand.
Yeah.
You can notice it for sure. I still don't know if it digs in as much as the Chaparral, because the Chaparral is even thinner.
It is thinner, but at least it's not sharp edges.
It's not.
So it's that balance of it.
That super thin lockback compared to a beefy lockback that's not chamfered properly.
For the record, for me, it's actually not uncomfortable at all to disengage, but it is something that is noticeable.
You don't feel hot spots or whatever.
That's just it.
I also wouldn't want to accidentally catch the side of my thumb on that lock bar.
That would kind of suck,
and just tear a big strip out of your skin or something like that. That'd be a bad day.
Now, on the contrast to that, none of us are huge cold steel fans, but I do have an outdoorsman, and I'll engage one of their lockbacks and do a drop shot over a Spyderco lockback any day of the week. Honestly, theirs are more pleasant to disengage. Smoother, nicer. Not saying strength-wise one is better than the other. It probably is because it's cold steel, but
just the usage.
Overall, I think a cold steel lockback is a more pleasant experience as long as you have the strength to disengage it. Then
it depends on how big the knife is in that case.
The Broken Skull, actually, a knife that I own, and I wish I had brought here for comparison because they're pretty similar in terms of overall size
and weight.
Very size similar. Disengaging that lockback is it. From what I can recall, it is actually slightly rounded. Just little things like that.
Well, and they do a dip in, and it's a more pleasant experience, because of everything that they've done, right? So
I want to like this knife,
right?
I do. I want to, and like you were saying before, the way that they've stretched the knife, it's clearly been stretched in one plane, and I wish that it had been stretched in both ever so slightly.
But you can't go to Chamonix.
No, of course not.
You can't.
Of course.
discussing it the other day with Joe. Also, don't want to go too Manixy.
Yeah. And actually, the notes that I jotted down in the first episode that you guys all saw me jump off to for a second was, this is a native that they policed out. And as soon as I see the look of it, I'm like, man, they tried to make a native a police model. And that's where this native chief comes in.
Maybe they should have put the swedge on it.
I want to see it aftermarket. No, that'd be fucking great. I think that would be awesome to put a swedge on this.
I think the main reason that I was excited for this knife was that I really wanted a Tonka, and I can't get my hands on one. And I thought that this was going to replace that urge, and it hasn't.
Not quite. It's like halfway there.
Tonka's a different beast.
You need to get yourself an XL Manix in order to supply your Tonka urge.
As far as similarities go, I wish that I actually had brought the regular native to show, but basically from roughly here to roughly here, they overlay each other perfectly. Like it's a 1-to-1. There's no deviation. It's these last little bits that got kind of stretched and elongated. And then
compared to the nice flowing curve.
And my biggest complaint is that this curve doesn't continue onto the blade because this, again, going back to the pokey thing.
I don't
factor
think
even.
The Pokey Factor.
Going back to the Pokey Factor.
I don't think I would have liked it any more drop down. I think aesthetically, I think I would have liked it less. Disliked it quite a bit more, even though ergonomic and cutting function might have been better. If they had a slopey this out any more than they already have.
See, that's attractive to me.
With how pointy I already find this knife, dropping that tip down will just make it even more, I think.
More as far as
you own a Phoenix.
That's just it. That's why I like it.
His views are flawed.
A little bit.
That being said, no steel liners. They kept it nice and light because of that, right?
3.9, a 9-inch blade. Crazy weight to size ratio.
Before we got too far away from the aesthetics and like the visual and talking about it being stretched out, that's part of why I really don't like this knife. Is I just find it so awkward how they stretched it out. And it's just, it doesn't balance anymore.
Even for Nigel in the finger choil, like there is parts of that knife that are hanging off.
A lot of extra knife in his
hand. On a man who has an XL to a double XL hand, like this was overkill. It really was overkill as far as size goes.
When I'm right back in holding the handle, like in the regular finger choil, not up on the blade choil, it's perfect fit for my hand, but then that's a lot of extra.
And at that point, I'm wondering how the snap cut action of that is. It's almost like they made it a little more of like a tactical native as well as like not just
police.
A workhorse. Police model. Again, back to the policey aspect of it, right?
I wonder if in the context of a cold steel product, would I have liked this knife more? Thinking of it as like more of that sort of knife.
Yeah. Where Spyderco has become like the tried and true functional performing whatever.
I think this is a very good example of the fact that just taking a design and stretching it doesn't necessarily make a good new knife.
And maybe not for what we're looking for, but again, thinking of it in a policing model, I can appreciate it. It's like an Ed Shemp Bowie design. People that pick it up are like, this is the weirdest knife in the world. And someone does the first little quick cut with it. It's like, oh, this is for something very specific. And that's almost what this knife feels like.
Almost.
And that weight to blade ratio actually makes a lot of sense in that context. You don't want the extra weight in your pocket or on your belt.
It's a tactical native. And I don't know if they're marketing it as that or not.
They should.
They really should. I think they,
The jimping makes sense in that context.
And jimping, like we were talking about in the last episode, whether it's in the finger choil or in the back, that duality of that has a good response to it for sure.
And actually, the one complaint that I had about being in the pocket clip and being in the pocket with that rough texture does make a lot of sense on a molly vest or something like that, where you want 100% retention.
And again, the spoon clip instead of a deep carry. Also makes sense.
Gives you extra
easy access.
And a lanyard hole. And like, again, it all comes back to this should be marketed much more black classy. I hate to say it. Because it's a Spyderco and not a bench trade, but it should be. It really should.
It's a workhorse, that's for sure.
super thin behind the edge for the size of the knife.
So
super
slicey.
Slicey. Yeah.
And leaning into that tactical role, leaning into that high performance sort of thing that Spyderco is known for.
Do they make this in a full Spidey edge?
Oh, they have
That'd be
to.
delicious.
Oh my goodness,
no.
that'd be incredible.
Now we're really getting into the cold steel realm.
Yeah, a little
But
bit, right?
seriously, like when you talk about a police model,
Hey, Spyderco, if you haven't, do it.
the police.
I think they offer all their models, their standard models with the option, right?
I'm sure it does, and that actually makes me like this knife more.
Yeah.
Thinking about that in that aspect with a fully serrated, that's just meant to mess something up. And if they do the native thing where the first quarter is still a plain edge, oh yeah, like I like
Fair
it.
enough.
I like it.
That almost makes me want to go back and rethink something. But honestly, I mean, as far as the utility knife, I think my scores are what they are.
Yeah,
We score them EDC style, right?
With the scoring aspect, we're talking about it for the everyday person knife, and I think our scoring is valid because of that. But if you got 4 SWAT boys standing around, you got 4 police guys, you got 4
they might very
Secret
well
Service.
really like that knife. Yeah.
You put this with a fully serrated and you say, what do you think of this knife? And you might have 4 very different opinions on a 4 very different channel that probably has a lot more followers than this. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other points?
Oh, no. It just falls short for me.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
You better have a monster of a mitt to make it like work for you in a day-to-day aspect.
There's a lot extra.
It's a lot of extra knife. But I mean, if you wanted to do even hook maneuvers with the back of the knife, that would definitely work.
And that was going to lead me into, or have a tactical purpose for this knife.
Striking.
If you do have a tactical purpose for this knife, it's something I haven't thought about up until this conversation tonight, but I think it is a very valid conversation for this knife.
Indeed.
Specifically in that hold, I find it even more pistoly too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, for sure.
giving you a little bit extra reach
With
and
the way
being
it
more pistoly.
holds, with how thin that is. Yeah, definitely.
Makes me double check the intentions behind a native chief, so to speak. Right? So
yeah, if you didn't check it out already, go back and check out our grading system to kind of see what we gave this guy. It was a bit of a range for the scores, and on light of the new subject brought up here as far as the intention of use for this guy, might be more of an appealing knife depending on the intention of use.
And who you are and what you do for work.
I think keep our scoring charts in line with a civilian and a day-to-day application rather than a military application. And I think if you're looking at a military application, honestly, for my own score, bump 5 points onto it. Because if I was looking in that application, I think my 77 would go to an 82 or an 83 very quickly myself. That's what I'm saying.
I could agree with that sentiment for sure.
Thank you to the Cutting Edge for donating this knife for the review purposes.
You
Once
guys
again,
are great.
guys,
Awesomely appreciated, and wonderful job for letting us take this.
and lets us know much more about the knives and getting a close-up view
Hands-on.
of it, rather than just standing in a retail store trying to make a judgment call. We get some long-term.
Get to play with it, get to fiddle
Handle
around,
it,
feel hot spots, stuff like that. So wonderful job for letting us do that. And that will be all. Signing off here. This is Nigel the Smith.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
Exile.ca.
We will catch you again next time.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.